Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are getting started here in about 1 minute. 1 minute. We are getting started. It is show time. We give people another second or so here to get locked in. We will get the party started. All right, family, we're jumping right into it here. Team, let me know if all looks good on your end on the tech side. Megan, we look good.
You're good
Swing.
to go.
Let's rock and roll. Let's jump right in here to it. All right, y'all. It is 7:02. Let's get right here to it. Welcome to the webinar this evening, this masterclass from employee to owner. The 5 dangerous mistakes keeping you dependent upon a paycheck. I am so humbled and honored to be able to share this information here with you. What prompted this was paying attention to just the chatter and the grumbles and hearing the concerns and the anxiety and the stress, not only of our clients, just as the market in general, right? We are in strange times, let's just put it that way, with government shutdowns, people concerned about AI taking jobs, the real estate market doing some wonky things. So we wanted to, as a company, we made the decision to not do our normal financial freedom boot camp this month, but to jump in here and address directly what's going on. So we wanted to put something together here for you that's going to be of crazy, crazy value, and we're going to just jump right in here to it. So let's get the party started, y'all. My goal, my goal is to teach you 5 dangerous mistakes that's keeping you dependent upon one paycheck. And ultimately, what we want you to be able to do is walk away from this masterclass with a better understanding and action steps to take to protect you and your family from the risk of losing that single paycheck. So, this evening, we're going to go through this information. I'm going to share some personal stories here with you. I'm going to share some strategies here with you. And ultimately, we want you to feel more confident going into tomorrow. Now, y'all been on a webinar before, right? And I know me and my wife were talking about this earlier at the kitchen table. You know how you had these webinars where you're waiting all of this time to hear the big moment and hey, what are they selling and things of that nature. So just to be crystal clear, we didn't put this together to sell anything. Now, are we going to give you some valuable information? Absolutely. Are we going to give you something that if you make it through the end of the webinar, something that will be a game changer for you, your family, your finances? Absolutely. And are we going to make an offer for the right people who may want to take advantage of that? Absolutely. But understand this is not a sales webinar. This is what we decided to do as a firm to get out in front of what we were seeing in the marketplace and give you guys value. If that's cool and you guys are cool with that, just type 10 in the chat and we'll get the party started. Now, for those who make it through all of my stories, we are going to give you something at the end. I was thinking about like, what in the world can I give these phenomenal people who are spending their evenings with me? And I decided to give you access to our exclusive state-of-the-art financial planning app. But you got to make it to the end of the webinar to get the details and the links and all of that stuff for it, right? But this app is the only financial planning app I found over the 20 plus years I've been in the industry that actually spoke in terms that I like to speak in. Wealth being measured in time. How long can you maintain your quality of life? What's hurting a lot of people financially is they do not have a scorecard. They do not have a scoreboard. They're playing a game of basketball, game of football, volleyball, baseball, but absolutely no scoreboard. They don't know the score. They don't know the quarter. They don't know how much time is on the clock. They don't know if they're winning or losing. So for those who make it through the end of the webinar, we're going to give you access to this financial planning app. And to be crystal clear, you cannot go to the App Store and get this app. This app has to be provided to you from a fully licensed investment advisory firm. So because that's who we are, we have access to it. And this is an app that we usually give to our clients. But for you guys joining me this evening, you make it to the end of the webinar, we will give you the details on how to get access to this app. All right, let's get the party started. Promise you this. This will not be your typical financial workshop. Reason being, I'm not your traditional financial advisor. Actually, you would almost call me a rebel advisor. Yes, I have some licenses. Yes, I have some credentials and some designations, but I do not think in a traditional sense. I actually think in a very non-traditional sense with respects to how most advisors talk about creating wealth and financial freedom and things of that nature. I actually teach individuals how to think like the bank and coach them through a process where they start to be the bank, where they start to actually fund their own deals, where they actually start to live on cash flow versus trying to hoard a nest egg and hopefully prayerfully one day in the future be able to retire. We help people become work optional. Let me say that again. Make sure you guys get that word down. We help people become work optional in 12 to 36 months versus waiting 30 to 40 years to retire. So I'm not your typical financial advisor. That being said, for those who don't know me, let me introduce myself. So my name is Perry Jeffries III. I am known as the financial strategist. I have 20 plus years of experience in the financial services. All of those 20 plus years, I've been managing and advising clients on investing and insurance and business growth and things of that nature. I've managed over $80 million in clients' assets, and I've had the Series 7 stockbroker's license. I still hold my Series 66, which is an investment advisory license. I also still hold my insurance license, and I have some designations right here, which I'm not going to bore you to death with. I'm sharing this with you just so you know this is not a social media guru trying to sell you anything. This is a fully licensed and highly credentialed professional with over 2 decades of experience going to teach you something this evening, not to sell you anything, but because it was heavy on my heart to make sure that we help people through these wild times that we're experiencing. In addition to some of those financial designations, I am a mastery level certified profit first professional, hence why I function as a CFO, Chief Financial Officer for several seven-figure businesses. And also, too, I am a certified John Maxwell coach in the areas of leadership, personal growth, and development. And also, too, we've had some segments on ABC6, had a standing segment on the Fox 28 Financially Fit Fridays with Perry that lasted probably about a year or so. And also, too, up until here recently with a change in administration, I was a standing speaker for probably 6 or 7 years for the Ohio Society of CPAs, where I travel around the great state of Ohio educating CPAs, enrolled agents, bookkeepers and accountants on how to drive profitability for their clients and also to create wealth for themselves. So just a little bit about me. Again, this slide, I'm just required to show you this slide, not to flex or brag in any way, just to let you know that you are hearing from a professional. All right. Okay, family. So here's the deal. I've done a lot of things right, and I'm humbled to say that. And some of those things I've done right. I married the right woman, right? So I'm happily married to my business partner, Sarah, the love of my life, my go-to, my right hand, right? My rock, right? Um, I'm did that right. I'm the proud parent of twin daughters. So big shout out to our student athletes, Mike and Maddie, just turned 16. We just bought them their cars. If you follow me on social media, you know that we bought these through the business because Mike and Maddie are actually employees of the business. So buying their cars through the business actually gave us the opportunity to create some tax deductions. You can go to Facebook or Instagram and check that out. I've been featured on the award-winning global podcast Entrepreneur on Fire, where I taught mistakes that entrepreneurs make trying to drive profitability and grow their businesses. I was named Marketer of the Year for the Profit First Professional. So if you've never read the book Profit First, make sure you grab that. Very close friends with Mike McAllowis and Ron Shaharian with the team over at Profit First. I was recently honored as the in the 2025 class of Extraordinary Men in the Mahogany Magazine here in Columbus, Ohio. Definitely a humbling honor out of a pretty large city, right? To be honored as one of the most influential people in the city. I'm a former Division One athlete, so yep, I hoop. My daughter's hoop. We're a basketball family. I've coached for years and just enjoy watching my daughters hoop and play and carry on that legacy. I've built three multi six-figure businesses simultaneously, as well as I've built two seven-figure real estate portfolios. In addition to that, I'm the founder of Cashflow Unlocked, the private Facebook group and online community and podcast where we provide, just educational pieces and strategies around how to think like the bank and how to become financially free. And also to the creator of the Wealthy Framework, which is our trademark framework, where we help individuals set their personal finances up the same way that the bank would set up their finances so they can start to become the bank and start to create cash flow or passive income so that they can buy their time and their freedom back. And I'm also a two-time millionaire, which leads into the next piece because not a one-time millionaire, but a two-time millionaire because I was a millionaire in my late 20s, early 30s, and I lost it all and I had to get it back, right? So I've done some things right, but I've done a lot of things wrong, family, right? So things I've done wrong. I lost everything during the Great Recession of 2007, 2009. If you remember 2007, 2009, just type 79 in the chat, right? That was a tough time. We saw for the first time ever the real estate and the stock markets fall simultaneously, right, at an alarming rate. And I lost everything. Not because the market was crashing, but because I was not structured the right way. I attempted to file bankruptcy, right? There was a point in time I just threw my hands in the air and was like, man, I don't know what else to do. I can't continue to just burn five, six, $7,000 a month just to try to stay afloat. So I attempted to file bankruptcy. I had my Jaguar repossessed, right? So it's wild because folks who don't know the story see me in a Range Rover, see my wife in a luxury vehicle. We just bought our daughters two vehicles, right? But they don't know the story of the day that I sat on my front porch holding my vanity plates while they dragged my Jaguar all white S-Type down the street. So I've had my vehicle repossessed. Talk about humbling. I've entered my home with the electric cut off. And mind you, I'm not talking about this how I grew up. I'm talking about this is what I experienced while being a financial advisor, family. Imagine that. Oh, I got stories to tell you. Y'all hold on. You know what? I've accumulated over $30,000 in credit card debt. I was fired from my job in 2014. I made emotional money decisions that led to disastrous outcomes. There was a point in time I didn't know my numbers and I lost millions in real estate. Literally lost a $4 million real estate portfolio because I did not know my numbers and I did not know how to manage the wealth that I had my hands on. I'm victim, as many of you, of having that lifestyle creep. My lifestyle rose as my income. Hey, I went from making $30,000 as a school teacher in Akron, Ohio back in 1999, right, to making six figures, and my lifestyle crept up with it. So instead of setting these dollars aside and growing, that nest egg and buying more properties and investing more, right, my lifestyle creep, right? If you have experienced some lifestyle creep, just type seven in the chat. I've trusted and I believed in a system that was not built for me to win. I believed what I was taught. Coming from Akron, Ohio, I did not come from money. I did not come from wealth. I came from great parents who instilled work ethic in me, great parents who told me, hey, you can't depend on one hustle. You need to have an A, B, and C and D hustle. Big shout out to my dad, Perry Jeffries II, right? Happy Veterans Day to him at the time of this recording, right? Today's Veterans Day. But I didn't come from a family where we talked about investing and real estate and businesses and things of that nature, right? I came from a family where my mom said, pay your bills on time. You'll always have good credit and you'll be able to walk in anywhere and use that credit to buy yourself things. But make sure you pay that back. And my only thing my dad taught me around finances was have you more than one hustle, right? So when I became a financial advisor back in 2003, right, I was coming in pretty raw, right? I didn't grow up around money. So I digested, I fully consumed everything that they were teaching me. And, we call that drinking the Kool-Aid. I got so good at drinking the Kool-Aid that I started making the Kool-Aid myself, selling the dream to folks that if you do all these things, right? Go to college, get a degree, get a job, right? Uh, invest in your 401k, that you'll be able to retire one day. Trust the stock market, right? I'm realizing that that system was not built for me to win. And the other thing I got wrong was I second guessed myself and I felt imposter syndrome. If you've ever felt imposter syndrome, or if you've never heard of imposter syndrome, that's where you're standing out in front in the public eye and you're forecasting this persona, or as the kids would say today, this aura. And you're like, yo, I'm the man, I'm the woman in public. And you go home and you second guess yourself and be like, man, I'm not everything that everybody thinks I am. Man, everybody is trusting me with millions of dollars of their money. And shoot, I don't have $1 million, right? Oh man, I'm out here telling people how to invest, but they have more money than me. Man, I'm out here telling people this is what they need to do to create wealth. And shoot, you know what I'm saying? I'm drowning in debt, about to file bankruptcy, right? So I've second guessed myself and I felt that imposter syndrome, as many of you have. And I know you have, even if you didn't raise your hand and say, yeah, that's me, right? So I've gotten some things wrong. But after 22 years of being in this industry, I discovered some things. I discovered that going to college and getting a degree and a good job does not guarantee financial freedom. That blueprint that was handed to me, right? Because I did all the things. I stayed out of trouble, right? Not that I didn't, what I'm saying, get in some trouble, but I stayed out of trouble. But let me put it this way: I didn't get caught doing the trouble, right? But man, I didn't go to jail, right? What I'm saying? One of the few friends in my neighborhood, what I'm saying, who has not served time, right? I went to college, multiple colleges, got dual degrees, right? My degrees in math with a minor in biology. I got into an industry, right, where I could help people and make money. But, a couple of years ago, I realized, like, dude, you're not close to being financially free. Or at least I thought I wasn't. I'll get to that in a second. Something else I discovered: the current financial system was built to keep us dependent. The current financial system was not built to create independent thinkers, independent wealth creators. It was created to create dependent workers, dependent employees, people dependent on the stock market, depending on their 401k, depending on Social Security, depending on the pension, right? That's what the system created, was an army of people being dependent upon it. Because when you're dependent upon something other than yourself, you are at risk if you don't understand what I'm talking about, right? Also discovered that the plan laid out for us wasn't working. And when I say plan laid out for us isn't working, I'm gonna share some stats with you here on the next screen. And also, too, I discovered this. Not everything was bad, right? Right. I had these aha moments. And what I discovered was the most valuable asset to invest my time, energy, and money into was me, my personal growth and development, and my family, because that is the only guaranteed return on investment you will find. Okay. So let's go to this next screen. Just going to share some things here with you, just so you know I'm not off my rocker. Was doing some research for this webinar and want to share some of this stuff with you. If you don't believe me that this system was not created for us to win, well, then you can believe these stats. You don't got to believe what I say. One of my old school cats at the gym, they say this, you know what I'm saying? My unks at the gym, you know what I'm saying? A bunch of retired cats that I rock with. And they say this all the time: trust, but verify. Hey, I trust what you're saying, Perry, but I'm going to go verify that. Here's some stats here for you. About 25% of US adults age 50 plus who aren't yet retired say they expect to never retire. A quarter of the population of 50 plus year olds. This was in research from PBS. Around 80% of older adults are either financially struggling now or at risk of economic insecurity in retirement. 80% of folks are scared to death. So if you're on this webinar and you're like, let me put, you know what I'm saying, let me dip my toe in the water and see what this dude is talking about. Somebody invited you to come and hear, you know what I'm saying, hear this dude. Or maybe you're a client of mine and you're like, man, let me see what Perry's talking about these days, right? Regardless, understand this math. A quarter of 50 plus year olds expect to never retire. I mean, they're going to ride it till the wheels fall off, right? Not by choice, but by necessity. And 80% of older adults are struggling. Here's another stat here for you. Of the 401k balances for people 50 plus, right? According to Empower Retirement, the median 401k balance for people in their 50s is $251,000. Let me let this sink in. There's such thing in traditional financial planning called the 5% rule. And the 5% rule states that of the dollars of the balance that's in your 401k, you are pretty safe taking 5% out per year. 5% out of 251,000 is a whopping 12,550 per year. That equates to, run that math here real quick. That equates to $1,045.83 per month. Could you live off of that? The answer is no. I know you can't, because I see how much rent is. I see how the cost of homes are going up, right? Could you live off $1,000? And that is the median number. And then this other stat is the one that scares me to death. According to a recent survey by Bankrate, about 59 is more than 50. That means the majority of people. The majority of Americans do not have enough savings to cover a surprise $1,000 expense. That means that if you're in a room with 10 people, six of them don't have $1,000 in savings to cover an emergency. The system is not working. The program they gave us is not working. And it's time for us to wake up and realize that. So I discovered some things the hard way, but good news for you. You ain't got to discover it the hard way. We're going to condense time frames, and I'm going to share my experiences, and you're going to be able to learn from Perry's experiences versus doing these things on your own. So the hard way: get a good job, work up the corporate ranks, get that awesome 2 week vacation. Huh, how many weeks in a year? And I get two of them for vacation. That is ludicrous. Only the United States. Other countries don't do 2 weeks of vacation. We do in the United States. We believe in working our people to the bone without a break. Be obsessed with paying off debt. Like, forget investing, forget growing my wealth and my cash flow. Just pay off that debt. Do you know being debt free is not financially free? Because you still have bills you have to pay. You're right. You cannot pay off your water bill, your electric bill, your car insurance, right? For most people, they can't pay off their rent. Maybe you're saying you can pay off your mortgage, right? Could be argued whether or not that makes sense or not. But the deal is you still have groceries, you still have food, right? You still have gas in your car. You can be debt free and still be broke, family. But again, that's not what they want us to learn, right? Work hard for the money, right? Work those 40, 50, 60-hour weeks, right? I interviewed one of my clients today who works for the government, not today, a couple days ago. I have a couple clients, several clients who work for the government, right? And they're part of this group of government workers who still have to show up to work every day, but they don't get paid. Let that sink in. Work in toxic environments. We helped a client, fire her job here recently. Literally, the environment was so toxic at the corporation she was working with, it was putting her marriage at risk. No, leave that, right? Go ahead and take a haircut on your income to have peace of mind, to protect your mental health so that you can actually show up for your husband and your children, right? Living in fear of what will happen next. How many of us are walking into a job hoping like, man, I hope this ain't today. Man, what I'm saying? They're letting people go. I'm hoping my name's not on that list, right? Wow. Like what kind of anxiety is that? Like, are you being your best showing up like that, thinking that could happen to you? Crazy. My destiny being controlled by somebody else. I'm going to be able to speak to this directly because I've been there, right? Knowing that somebody in Congress not voting this way or that way has an impact on your paycheck, has an impact on maybe the support that you need, has an impact on how much you're paying for your health insurance, has an impact on, what I'm saying, like how you travel, has an impact on how you can grow. Like it's amazing how other people can impact what you're trying to do. Or one that blows my mind, living in a permission based environment. You may say, Perry, what's permission based? Let me break it down for you. Hey, boss, um, can I go pick my kid up from school? They're sick. Hey, can I take an extra long lunch? Hey, I would love to go on vacation with my family. Can I take some time off? Hey, I got a sick parent. Can I like take some time off and go spend some time with them? Hey, right? That's a permission based environment. We grown ass people. Why are we asking permission to do the things that we were put on this earth to do? I shouldn't have to ask permission to show up for my wife if I need to go to the doctor with her. I shouldn't have to ask permission to show up to my daughter's practice or basketball games. I shouldn't have to ask permission, right? My mother recently passed from 2 years of fighting stage 4 cancer. Because I owned my own business, because I owned my own calendar, I literally, talked to my team and sent an email out to clients and said, hey, I won't be around for the next couple months. I'm going to be spending time with my mom. I sure couldn't do that in my 9 to 5 job. We are too grown to be asking permission. And the worst part, the whole concept of working till 65, not by choice, but by necessity. Whew, that's the hard way, y'all. But fortunate enough, you guys are here this evening. So I'm going to break down for you the easy way. And I say easy, right? Nothing's really truly easy, but I think this is a easier route to go. But you have to get your mindset aligned, right? So we're going to talk about the easy way to stop depending on a paycheck. And that is my hope for you. That is my wish for you. That is my prayer for you. That after this evening, you're going to walk away with some information to digest and lean into and sit on that's going to make you a better person to show up for your spouse, for your kids, for your family, for your community in a better fashion. All right, let's keep the ball rolling, y'all. So a couple things. And again, this is no way just a flex, but the proof is in the pudding. You want to look at tax returns, you want to see assets, you want to see bank accounts. I do this in our financial freedom boot camp. I lift up the hood and I just show people everything. My wife be so mad at me. She's like, Lord, everybody know what we got, baby. You know what I'm saying? I'd be like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like transparency is everything. How many traditional financial advisors would show you their accounts, right? I'll show mine because if we're going to move this needle and genuinely help people, people have to trust us. And trust comes with transparency and character and integrity, right? So here's some numbers here for you. Over the past year, using some of the strategies that I'm going to share this evening, me and my wife have purchased over $1.2 million in real estate. We've experienced making six figures in a month. And that wasn't just all me. Big shout out to my team. I have an amazing team. But we had our, first six-figure month this year, right? I remember back in the day, if I was making six figures a year, I thought I was the man. Now we're doing six-figure months. Amazing. Just blessed and humbled. And we've replaced 90% of our living expenses with passive income. If I shut it all down today, stop showing up and helping the community. Stop showing up and doing webinars and boot camps and teaching in my mastermind and my mentorship programs. If I stop doing it today, we've built enough that we can cover 90% of our living expenses today. That is peace of mind. I am not dependent upon a paycheck. And guess what, family? We did it without a 9 to 5 job or depending on the stock market. I'm going to share with you how we did it. Okay, disclaimer. Results not typical, right? That's a disclaimer. I'm just going to share, like some stories from some of our clients, but also too some of my personal stories. So let's keep the ball going. All right, y'all locked in? If you are locked in, type locked in the chats. Here's the 5 dangerous mistakes keeping you dependent on a paycheck. Boom, let's get it. Danger number one, not creating multiple streams of income, not being intentional about it, right? I'm talking about where the thing that's keeping you up at night is, man, how can I get stream number two of income? How can I get stream number three of income, right? Something my dad taught me, and I had no idea that back then he was putting me on game, but he old school, right? Old school was like, man, have you a A, B, C, D hustle? If something happened to your A hustle, be able to fall back on B, C, and D. And he lived that. He was a firefighter, full-time job. He was a basketball referee. He was a track referee. Shoot, you know what I'm saying? We had a tree cutting service called PJ and Sons Tree trimming and Removal. I know I don't look like it, but I was a hood lumberjack, you know what I'm saying, in the city of Akron. We was cutting down trees and climbing up ladders and getting on the rooftops. Crazy, right? We had a family paper route where everybody was involved. My mom, myself, my sister. That was really my mom's play. She had a full-time job. She worked at General Tire, one of the first women, actually not one, the first woman to work on the assembly line at General Tire. Let you know how she was built. She wasn't playing around, but creating multiple streams of income, right? Danger number two, not building security beyond your job. You have to build security outside of your job. If your job is your only source of security, you are playing a game of Russian roulette. You are just one bad load and one bad trigger pull from losing that security. You got to build security outside of your job. Danger number three, not realizing that you're grieving. Well, I'm gonna get into this. Like, this is next level stuff. I told you guys this was not gonna be your typical financial advisor, talk. Hey, dollar cost average. Hey, put money in your Roth IRA. Hey, buy the S&P 500. We're not talking about that here. We're talking about stuff that's actually going to move the needle, right? I told you this was not going to be the typical stuff. I'm not a typical advisor. These are the things that you got to lean into and address. All that other stuff, we can figure that out, but you got to get your mindset around this. Danger number four, not understanding your value. We're going to help you unpack that. And danger number five, not seeking expert counsel or guidance. All right, let's go into these. Let me grab me a quick drink here, cuz woo, we about to get active. Y'all doing okay out there? If y'all doing okay out there, man, just give me the number six. Number six is my jam. Number six was my line number when I pledged when I was online. All right, mistake number one, fam. Not creating multiple streams of income. I've already mentioned this, right? The Great Recession of 2007, 2009. During this time, I had accumulated and built a $4 million real estate portfolio. I had close to 20 doors at this time. And I was doing pretty good. Young man, started doing this in my late 20s, early 30s, built his $1 million portfolio. I'm feeling pretty good about myself. I remember the time I called my mom and said, "Hey, mom, I'm a millionaire." And mom's like, "You got $1 million in the bank?" I was like, "Nah, mom, my net worth a million on paper, right? You know what I'm saying? I got a $4 million real estate portfolio and only owe 3 million. Worth $1 million, right?" But it all came crumbling down. And, I could make excuses, which I don't do because, again, I pledge. Excuses are tools of incompetence used to build monuments of nothingness, and those who indulge in them are seldom capable of anything else. If you know that one, just type excuses in the chat. I rocks with you, right? But here's the deal. I didn't lose it all because the market crashed. I lost it all because I did not have the right systems in place. I lost it all because I did not have a coach or a mentor, right? I had somebody who showed me how they started investing in real estate, and they weren't a great mentor or coach, right? They showed me how to do some things. I learned from them and I kind of just started running, right? And also, too, during that time, how I ended up losing it all, I got greedy. So I'm doing my thing at this point in time. I'm buying my properties, most of them rented out Section 8, right? And then I had this guy approach me, scam artist, and he's like, "Hey man, I got this opportunity. What I'm saying? We're gonna do these flips, blah, blah, blah. We're gonna turn them into condos." Man, I immediately lost $400,000 on that deal. Losing that $400,000 on that deal, and again, not having a coach or a mentor to guide me or the proper system to prevent me from making these decisions, led to a downward spiral and I lost everything, right? So I lost everything, and I can look you guys dead in your eye, right? I know I can't see you, but you can see me, and say that I'm not making an excuse. I didn't lose this because of the market, because there were other people during this same market who made millions of dollars. They did something different than I was doing. But I lost this because I didn't have the right system and the right coaches and mentors and the right professionals around me. So from here, from the Great Recession, came the great lesson, which now today helps me and my wife now acquire real estate. Some of those great lessons that I learned is get a coach, right? Me and my wife got a real estate coach that helped us, put this system in place to acquire these properties, right? Get a team. I have an accountant. I have a lawyer. I have coaches, what I'm saying, who focus on systems, coaches who focus on eliminating debt and paying down, saving hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of interest, right? I started to invest in these systems. In 2000, I lost everything in 2009, and I hired my first coach in 2017. And that coach helped change everything for me, right? So the great lesson I learned, and today I teach that, is the wealth equation, the millionaire equation is the thing plus the dream. I'm sorry, the dream plus the thing plus the team, right? So I started to learn like I didn't have to be super smart. I just had to follow the right system and get information from the right sources. But another thing that I learned, plan for worst case scenario. See, when I was buying real estate back then, if y'all remember this back in the day, y'all, they had these no doc loans. Well, Perry, what's a no doc loan? You could literally go get a $500,000 mortgage and not produce any documents. It was called stated income. If y'all don't remember, if y'all wasn't around during this time, this was a deal where you could literally walk in, deal with a mortgage broker, and be like, I make $20,000 a month. And they said, "That's your income?" Yes. Stated income, no tax returns, no pay stubs, no nothing. Stated, get a loan, right? They were writing these kinds of loans. One of the reasons that the market imploded, right? So what happened during this time, I got greedy. I got comfortable. And it was like, "Oh, this is easy. I'm buying a property, right? I'm buying $100,000, $200,000 property. My mortgage payment is only $500 because of these crazy loans that we're in, right? I got Section 8 in there paying 1,200. I'm making seven, eight, $900 per property. Oh, and I'll just refinance this, later on, right? I know it's a risky loan, but I'll get out of it because real estate always goes up, right? Huh, interesting. Does it always go up? With 2007, 2009 showed us that in short periods of time, it can drop pretty dang on fast to the tune of almost 50%, right? So the principle that I did not practice that I now do have is always plan for worst case scenario. Worst case scenario for many of you guys is losing your job. Do you have a plan for that? Right? Worst case scenario is, hey, I'm heavily invested in real estate market. What if the real estate market crashes? What if, all your properties are Section 8 and the current administration gets rid of Section 8 and get rid of that type of assistance? What if, like, do you ever sit down and plan for worst case scenario? And I know some people are like, man, Perry, why are you thinking so negative? I'm not thinking negative. I'm showing you how to win. But it's not just me to think this way. Anybody ever been on an airplane? Right? If you've been on an airplane, just type airplane in the chat. You know what they discuss on every airplane ride that they're required to discuss? Like, they don't get on there and be like, hey, y'all, it's going to be amazing today. We're going to fly from, Columbus to Miami. And man, it's going to be the most dopest experience of your life. You know what they say right before you take off? All right, y'all. So here's the deal. If there's an emergency and cabin pressure decreases, make sure you grab your deal. Hey, this is, what I'm saying? If we get in the water, make sure you do this. Hey, if you sit in the emergency row, which I always sit in the emergency row because I'm 6'3" and I'm going to stretch my legs out, right? I have to verbally say, yes, if this plane crashes, I am going to, I am committed to open up the door and helping people get out. Do you know what they're planning for? Worst case scenario. Even if the likelihood of it happening is very slim, if you have the plan in place, like let this sink in for a second. If you have the worst case scenario plan already in place, if worst case happens, you're already prepared. If worst case happens, you're mentally already squared away. If worst case happens, you're like, oh, well, you know what? Didn't know if it was going to happen or not, but it's here, right? Now you're being proactive versus being reactive. This is a lesson. Take this lesson. This is a principle. Don't think that you're going to have that job forever. Don't think that you're going to work there 40, 50 years and retire, with milk and honey and roads, roads of silver and gold. Plan for worst case scenario and have that thing written down. Because if you plan for worst case scenario, your mind is already going to go to a place of the things that you need to do. Okay, I need to have this emergency fund. Okay, worst case scenario, if I lose my job tomorrow, how will I be able to pay my necessities, keep the lights on, pay the mortgage, pay the rent? When you start to think that way, you intentionally start to put things in place. Is this making sense to anybody? Right? If this is making sense to y'all, type 10 in the chat. Just make sure that you guys are live. Let me jump through. Okay, the chat is leaping. I love it. Perfect. So this is the first danger. Plan, right? And this is the fix. This is the action item. This isn't, hey, you need to be investing in crypto. No, this is plan for worst case scenario. Look at your financial decision today. I can give you a whole bunch of strategies. Hey, have 3 months of, emergency fund. Hey, what I'm saying? Be invested in your Roth IRA or your 401k. Hey, shoot, get that IUL, Index Universal Life. Hey, no, 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 no. Financial freedom and abundance comes how you think. Plan for worst case scenario, you'll never be taken off guard. So whether you work for the government and you've been furloughed, you're not getting a check, if you already plan for worst case scenario, you're good to go. Hey, if you're working that corporate job like I was and get let go, if you're planning for worst case scenario, you'll be fine. Hey, when I was invested in the real estate market back in, from 2001 to 2009 and lost everything, I wasn't planning for worst case scenario. I was riding around in an all white Jag. I was popping bottles. I was kicking it. I wasn't planning for worst case scenario because I never expected it to end. Plan for worst case scenario, family. This will save you time, energy, and money. Woo! Coffee sip. All right, let's rock. Mistake number two I see happen. Not building security beyond your job. July 8th, 2014. I don't know where y'all were on July 8th, 2014, but my ass was getting fired that day. July 8th, 2014, I got to my office, got to my job, my corporate job where I was making 30, 40 grand a month. um, had moved up the ranks, had got to the point where, at this particular financial institution, I was training financial advisors, had just been flown out to Wall Street, received some super high level training, right? Man, feeling like, man, I'd have made it. This is coming off the heels of me losing everything in 2007, 2009, seeing my car repossessed, coming home to my daughters with no lights on, the electricity not on, right? So, man, I think like, I'm like, hey, I didn't did it. Mom, I made it until July 8th, 2014, when they called me into the office at the end of the day, and said, hey Perry, can you meet me at 4 o'clock, blah blah blah. And I walk into a room, and it's my manager and somebody I don't recognize in a suit, and they tell me that, hey, the firm has decided to part ways as of today. You're talking about a shocker, you're talking about a gut punch, right? I remember leaving that meeting. Well, even before I get into like leaving that meeting, let me get here and break this thing down here for you. I got fired, and I'm sitting there with my manager who I had a great relationship with. And I asked him, I said, hey man, how am I supposed to provide for my family? And he looked me dead in my face and said, Perry, I don't know. But you're sharp, and I know you will figure it out. That day has stuck with me, and that conversation has stuck with me with 2014. So this is over a decade ago, right? And it taught me a couple of things. Like the issue I had, the mistake I made was thinking I made it, right? I'm making, $250,000 a year, doing my thing, swag surfing, upgrading my whip again, got out of the bucket I was in because I lost everything. I done made it back. My investment portfolio is popping. I'm doing my thing. I've lost all my real estate at this time, so I'm renting a property, so I don't have any real estate. You know what I'm saying? I got a little side hustle I got going on. Thank God I did, right? Because the day I got fired, I knew I could go out there and make some money with that. Not enough to replace, the income or to cover all my expenses, but I knew I wasn't going to be destitute, right? But going back to the lesson that I learned, and the reason I'm so thankful for that experience today, that was when I realized I would never, ever, ever, ever look another grown person in the face and ask them, how am I supposed to provide for my family? Because the reality of it is, the only person responsible for providing for your family is you, not the system, not the job, not the situation. It's you. You are the only person responsible for providing for your family, right? Which leads me to this principle that I've now ingrained into my system, and now I teach it to my daughters. True security comes from ownership, right? True security comes from ownership. If you don't own it, don't get comfortable with it because it can be snatched away just like that. Ownership is what leads to financial freedom and wealth and generational wealth. You got to own something. Yep, you may own your investment portfolio. You may own your home, right? But you need to own real estate. You need to own businesses. You need to own a way to go out and generate income today. You need to know, like when I was fired that day, I had started a company called Financially Fit where I was combining health and wealth. So the day I was fired, after I finished chain smoking black and mild on the way home, right? And then got home, and at the time, my sister was with me. My fraternity brother, who ended up being my best man, he was with me, and also too my friend who became my fiance and is now my wife was with me. And I think they said I was drinking like a Fruit Loops vodka and a bourbon, double fisted, right? I was not in a good place mentally. I had the rug snatched from underneath me. I had brought in billions, me and my team had brought in billions of dollars to this firm. Billions, like I'm not exaggerating, billions of dollars into this firm. We had brought in assets that we distributed across the country to other advisors that helped them create, grow their income, to help them build their wealth and provide for their families. So it wasn't just I was making money. I was a catalyst for driving income and revenue for the business and also feeding the mouths of other people's family. And just like that, I had it snatched away. Thank God I had a business that I own. I started doing personal training on the side. I started, doing meal plans on the side. I started doing speaking engagements on the side. I was in a network marketing company, so I had a little bit of money coming in from there, right? So I wasn't at a dead zero. Now, I sure wasn't at the 30, 40 grand a month I was used to making, but I could go out and make some money. And that gave me peace of mind, ownership. Type that in the chat. Ownership. The only security you have in this money game is what you own. Anything else can be taken away from you. I was asked to speak at an event here recently. It was called Stop Renting Ohio. And I was being prayerful and thinking about what I was going to share with everybody. Because I was asked to come in and do a 20-minute, 20, 30-minute talk, and it hit me. When you're renting, you can at any time be evicted from that property. You know why? Because you don't own it. If you don't own your job, you can be evicted from their payroll whenever they want. How do you have peace of mind knowing that any day could be the day you get evicted? You know how you deal with that? Understand that they're renting your expertise. Your paycheck is the rent they're paying you to show up and provide some type of service. How can you then take that mindset and then go out and understand that you can go out and create a paycheck on your own, even if you start off small and you own it? That's the only way you have security. There's no such thing as job security, it's ownership. In the book Killing Sacred Cows by Gary Gunderson, he breaks this thing down. Security doesn't come from your job, it comes from your ability to create, produce, and serve in a way that no one can take from you. Let that sink in. Security does not come from your job because it can be taken away from you just like that. It comes from your God given ability to create something. Maybe you can make cakes and sell them. Big shout out to Tanya on our team, right? Maybe you can create systems. Big shout out to Megan on our team, right? Maybe you can create services, right? Big shout out to Cindy on our team, right? With our VA services, right? Maybe you can create social media. Big shout out to Dewey on our team, right? Maybe you can create environments where people want to tap in and be a part of it. Big shout out to George on our team. Understand that my team, I don't have any employees on my team. I have business partners. I have people who own a skill that whether I pay them or not, they can take that skill and go produce income today. What God gave you, your ability to create, produce, and serve, no one can take that away from you. That's where security comes from. Man, if you feeling that, man, type security in the chat. By the way, go get the book Killing Sacred Cows. Type security in the chat. Let me jump over in the chat real quick. I need a quick break. Let me see if y'all popping over here. Oh yeah, y'all popping over here. I'm just jumping in. Y'all popping. Yeah, I see y'all. Y'all popping. Love it. Love it. Love it. Okay, let's keep the party going. Mistake number three, not realizing you're grieving. I told y'all this ain't about to be your, you know what I'm saying, your moms and pops, you know what I'm saying, financial planning session, talking about your budget, talking about, hey, let me put some money in my 401k. Man, I just got to work long enough to get the pension. We ain't talking about that today. We talking about the stuff that's really going to put you in a position to be financially stable and one day financially free. So, big shout out to my client Judith here, who's in our millionaire mastermind, and she's just a wonderful, wonderful client of ours, and I can talk openly with her. She tell me when I'm dropping the ball or when I could do something better, which I truly appreciate, and I can go to her and ask questions. And her being being a federal employee like some other of my clients, right? I reached out to her and I said, "Hey, I just want to ask you a couple of questions, right? Because I know how it feels to lose my job, but I don't know what it feels like to have a job but not get paid, right?" And as we were talking about this term grieving came out. And what I mean by grieving, I remember when I was losing my mom and had lost my mom, and I was talking to a good friend of mine, and he said, grief is the emotion that you feel when you lose something. And I said, I get it. If you've lost your income, you've been fired, furloughed, let go, you're actually dealing with grief. When I lost my, $4 million portfolio, right? I didn't realize it here till recently, but what I was going through, the chain smoking, the black and miles, the drinking, the trying to hide it with the partying, you know what I'm saying? All of that type stuff, right? Was my form of grief. It was my form of coping. And that actually made matters worse. How you broke and losing money, thousands of dollars a month, but at the club popping bottles. Let that sink in, right? So here's the deal. You have to attack this head on. You have to acknowledge that the fact that if you've ever lost a job, if you ever lost an income, if you've ever lost, the quote unquote security that you think you have, that you're dealing with a form of grieving. And how you cope with this is a game changer. If you ever lost that promotion that you thought you was going to get, right? Because you've been putting all the hours at the job, you've been following everything. Hey, hey, boss, I'm here, right? But you lost it, right? That you're experiencing a form of grief. Lifestyle. Hey man, when I lost my gig, I couldn't travel the way I wanted. I couldn't go out and buy, the tomahawk steaks, you know what I'm saying, the $200 tomahawk steaks. I was grieving, right? So we got to make sure that you address this. So, right? So let's talk about, the government shutdown. I know, what I'm saying, we got some government, workers on here and things of that nature. Make sure that you are addressing your feelings. How you feel and what you're going through is relevant. So whether you're part of the government shutdown, whether your job has been replaced by AI, or you already have the fear that you're being replaced by AI. Like grief is a wild thing. One thing that my sister told me, what I'm saying, when our mother was transitioning with cancer, is that she was pre-grieving. And I'm like, well, what the hell is pre-grieving? Pre-grieving is knowing that you're about to lose something and you start grieving, right? So if you don't address this emotion of grief, if you don't address this emotion of loss, or for those who haven't lost their job or haven't been furloughed or haven't been laid off, those who have that fear of today might be the day they let me go. That fear of losing a job is a form of grief, right? We have to get in front of that. So the solution to that, y'all, is therapy. Like I told y'all, this ain't gonna be your normal. This is not, the run of the mill financial piece. Hey, invest in mutual funds. We ain't talking about that today. We talking about you, because guess what? You are the most valuable asset. If you are good, you can go out here and make money. Money is easy to make, but you have to get in the right mindset, right? So therapy, sitting down and talking to a professional, working through those emotions, coaching. Coaching is everything for me, right? Like that's why I've transitioned my business from being this quote unquote financial advisor to being a financial strategist. Because as a financial strategist, I can implement the three C's: coaching, consulting, and creating an environment for people to flourish, right? Coaching is everything. Coaching is having that second set of eyes when you're feeling a certain way, anger, anxiety, grief, whatever. And that second set of eyes, you'd be like, whoa, hold on. You need to look at this differently. Let me give you a real life example. I got a client, another government client of mine, who's already retired. Already retired, right? So she's not worried about the furloughs and things of that nature. We're paying very close attention to what's going on. We made sure that when we retired, we got that money out to those government accounts and things of that nature, and to some privately held accounts. But we were having a conversation one day, and she's been a client, I don't know, probably about maybe 5 or 7 years. In this most recent conversation, she didn't realize it, but she was grieving not having a paycheck. She's retired, got a little over 500,000, right? Things are rocking. We rocking. That's a lie. Actually, she has 1 million. Because we were just looking at it the other day, right? So she has 1 million, but she is stressed and has anxiety. And I'm sitting there like, how in the world are you stressing? And we're looking at $1 million in different investments, right? We got to set up well, right? We got some stocks, we got some annuities, you know what I'm saying? We got some funds, like, she set her plan is extremely well put together. But she's sitting there stressed. And we talked through it. She was so addicted to having a paycheck. Let me say that again. Addicted to having a paycheck that now that the paycheck has stopped, she is scared to death to actually use the money that's for retirement. Let that sink in for a second. That's not a financial strategy issue. That's an emotion issue. That's a mindset issue. So we talked through it and had to get to the point. It's like, so you have $1 million here. You have enough money coming in from your pensions and your other stuff that you don't need this money. But let's say you needed an extra, boom. Based on this million that you have right here, I think I was showing her we could get her extra, $5,000 a month or something along those lines. I forgot what it was. Um, Nonetheless, I said, you have to get your head wrapped around that these dollars that you're now hoarding, you're now protecting, because what do people do when they grieve? They lost something, so they usually hold on to something really tight. Yeah, I told you this was not going to be your normal financial conversation, family. We getting deep today, right? We finished up that conversation with her having peace of mind and saying, thank you, Perry. She said, this may have been the most important meeting, most impactful. How she said most important and impactful. It was like the best meeting. Let's say she said, Perry, this is the best meeting we've ever had. And we didn't discuss one investment strategy. We discussed the emotion she was feeling. She didn't realize, and I didn't realize at the time, that she was feeling grief. She was no longer getting a paycheck. And because she was no longer getting a paycheck, I just want to hold on to this money and I don't want to spend it because this is all the money I have. That creates a scarcity mindset. A lot of y'all addicted to paychecks. Addiction is not good. You need to break that addiction. Oh, my bad. Went too fast. And community. Therapy, talking to a professional help you navigate that mental headspace. Coaching, getting somebody who's going to tell you what it is, who's going to be that, hey, this is your blind spot. You need to do this, and let's help navigate you around that whole piece. And community, you can't do this thing by yourself. Understand, you're not going through anything right now that multiple other people aren't going through. We have our millionaire mastermind, right? Which is comprised of six-figure earners and things of that nature, right? I was just meeting with, I'm saying, some of my clients today, and they're going through the same thing. Super busy, raising kids like us, 2 kids, family, corporate jobs, super busy, trying to do all of the things, right? Missing their numbers, not knowing their numbers because they're so dang on busy, not knowing what they should do with their money, not moving things around. Literally, we sat down in a meeting today. Again, they didn't talk about any stocks. mutual funds, and along those lines. We talked about the equity they had in their home. We talked about the debt that they would have, and we put together a plan within 60 minutes, which no BS will actually increase their cash flow by $4,000 a month. One strategy. But we couldn't discuss the strategy until we address the mindset to get their minds looking at things differently and to change the way they view things and view the riches that they were sitting on. Have y'all ever heard the story of diamonds in your backyard? Type diamonds in your backyard. Yes, type diamonds in the chat if you've heard the story, right? Type diamonds in the chat. The story is simply this. I'm going to butcher it because I know there's a couple other versions out there, but I'm going to share this one. Diamonds in your backyard is this. Folks was, super excited to go out west, right? For the gold rush. Ooh, got to go out for the gold rush. Go out for the gold rush, right? So they packing up everything, heading out west. And, this guy was trying to sell his property, head out west, and da 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 da. So packed his property, right? Sold his property, headed out west, eventually died, right? The person that bought his property was on the property, mulling around. It's like, what's that? And found out that the property he sold was on a diamond mine, if you will. I told you I was going to butcher the story. So the person who went out trying to find riches out west and died on the Oregon Trail, if I remember, any of y'all old enough to remember the Oregon Trail, we used to play that thing back in school, right? We didn't really have Atari like that. It'd be in a computer lab, and we played the Oregon Trail, and that thing is kind of like, well, anyway, died on the Oregon Trail, left a multi-million dollar diamond mine, not realizing like they were already sitting on it. That's what we find happens to a lot of people. They're sitting on a diamond field, a diamond mine. They're sitting on abundance, but their focus is so far off tilt that they don't even realize what they're sitting on. You don't realize that until you get a second set of eyes in coaching and join a community of like-minded people to be like, hold on, go fast. You're sitting on your riches already. What are you doing? Jeez. Man, I hope y'all getting this information. The principle here is called emotional intelligence, EI. If your money ain't right, if you got anxiety over your finances, if you're in crazy debt, if you've made some bad financial decisions, it's not your strategy. That's what the system will have you think. Oh, put more money into the insurance product. Oh, put more money into the stock market. Oh, put more money into your 401k. Shoot, you don't feel better. I have examples after examples after examples of people who have money in these plans and don't want to use it because they're addicted to a paycheck and they're scared to death to use the money that they saved for the retirement. It's emotional intelligence, EI. Let me ask you guys a question. Do you make better decisions when you are drunk or sober? Now, before you answer this, I know it's going to be some people, they're probably kindred spirits of mine, who are going to be like, man, Perry, I've made some really good decisions while drunk. My wife and I were going through the presentation before we jumped on, and she's like, babe, I made great decisions drunk. So you're gonna find some people who are gonna say that, but let's just those are outliers. You know what I'm saying? Let's just, talk about it real quick. So if you're driving, are you a better driver, drunk, or sober? I got 16-year-old daughters who we just bought cars for, right? They better not get behind the wheel drunk, right? They know that if they someplace before they started driving, like our daughter Micah hit us up she went to a football game. She's like, Dad, can you come pick me up? They out here drinking. Yep, baby, dropped everything, got right to her, right? Who makes better decisions, a drunk or sober person? The sober person does. When you are being emotionally challenged, when you're dealing with emotions like grief, anxiety, fear, anger, you're going to make bad decisions. Big shout out to one of my coaches, John Whiting, you know what I'm saying, who first really brought this to my awareness, right? That's why I'm so stoic about dealing with money, right? I've had accounts go negative balance. I'm not losing my mind. I'm not throwing my hands up and stressing out. I just move the money around and then figure out why it went negative. And then like, oh, well, you know what? I'm gonna put some overdraft protection on this bad boy. So if it does go negative, you know what I'm saying, it just takes care of it. I ain't got to worry about it, right? That's because I understand you do not make good financial decisions based on emotion. You are not a drunk wealth creator. People who create wealth and financial freedom and use systems are doing it sober. You have to remove your emotions from your equation. Just a, and this is not Perry talking. This is a principle. This is a fact of life. You make better decisions when you're drunk or sober, right? So you have to remove those underlining emotions. And the deal is, I'm not saying go out here and be heartless, right? I know there's some family members, and I know my daughters and wife probably be like, man, that dude just be talking crazy to folks. You know what I'm saying? Especially them, right? Because I love them, so I talk super crazy to them. But it's not that I'm talking crazy. You have to be able to look at every situation. Like, if you notice, when I was talking about some of the other mistakes, I thank God for the experience of losing my ass in 2007, 2009. Because without that experience, I wouldn't be here today, happily married, worth, you know what I'm saying, worth seven figures, you know what I'm saying, and working towards being work optional without that experience. So everything that you're going through, that layoff, that furlough, that fear that today might be your day to get let go, you have to be able to tap into that emotion and be able to say, what is this feeling that I'm feeling? Be okay with that feeling. But what we need to do is look at what is the pros and cons behind that feeling. What is the lesson this feeling is teaching? What did I do to put myself in this position to even feel this way, right? So you have to have extreme ownership. You have to look at both sides of the equation because it's like, as my coach used to teach, it's like a battery charge, right? We look at a battery, it has a negative and a positive charge, right? If you look at a situation that's all negative, that's all you feel is that negative emotion. You have to start to neutralize that negative charge and actually start to add some positive to it. What is the lesson this is teaching me? And like we talked about earlier, what's the first things we need to do is plan for worst case scenario. When I was buying all that real estate and living high on the hog and like, man, I felt like, you know what I'm saying? Like all I do is win, 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 no matter what. Like I was DJ Khaled before he was even hot. You know what I'm saying? I was already like, I'm winning all day, right? Because my charge was all positive. I needed to come back center and look at what could potentially go wrong and plan for that, right? So get sober. Address the grief or the pre-grief that you have around only having one paycheck and get your mind right. All right. Whew. Let's go here. Let me take another sip. We almost at the end, family. Y'all doing okay out there? Let me check in on y'all. How y'all doing? Y'all doing all right? Everybody rocking with me? Y'all doing okay? Is this some valuable stuff? Y'all getting this? Somebody's like, yeah, they remember Oregon Trail for sure. For sure. Those are my people. Cool. All right, let me get through the rest of these. Mistake number four. Well, I'm sorry. Let me go back. Doo-doo. Not understanding your value. Whoa, we're gonna lean heavy into this one, family. But I made six figures. I made it. And did anybody have that swag when they first started making six figures? So, like for a cat again who was making $30,000 a year teaching in Akron, Ohio, I think I was maybe making close to 40 because I was teaching, I was coaching two basketball teams and working at the Y. Like making 35, 40 grand in 1999, I'm swag surfing. Like I'm feeling amazing about my situation, right? The dream was like, do y'all remember this was the dream? Like, I know I ain't that old. You know, some of y'all might be younger than me on here, but anybody remember that back in the day, the dream was just to make six figures? Like, you make six figures, you done made it. Man, that ain't the same thing anymore. Not with rents being, $2,000, you know what I'm saying? $2,400 for a three-bedroom, right? Depending on where you're at, right? Like six figures ain't that anymore. But there was a point in time that six figures was the deal. A lot of us are still tapped into, man, I'm making six figures. I can't leave this job. There's no way I'm able to go someplace and make six figures. Or maybe like, yeah, I make six figures here. I'm gonna get recruited by another company and go make another six figures, right? And you're just chasing the six figures to hopefully maybe get to seven, but you're addicted to the idea that I made it. It's nothing worse than feeling like you made it. The best compliment I think I've received in the past maybe 30 days, I was at the gym and one of my clients ran up on me. He's like, P, you know what I'm saying? He like, man, you out here grinding. He's like, man, I remember back in the day, we was up in your 4 unit that you had, because I had a 4 unit. I was living in one of the units. I like lived in all of the units except for one at one point in time, right? I was house hacking. I was using the 4 unit. It was paying for my jack. It was, what I'm saying, I was living rent free. Like, like you couldn't tell me nothing, right? But he said to me, he was like, you still have the same hunger today that you had then. He's like, you still move like you're broke. He said, matter of fact, I know you're good right now, and you're moving with more intensity than you moved back when you didn't have it. I said, thank you for that compliment. Because that's how I'm hardwired, right? Because yes, we've experienced some financial success, but it ain't over until I help other people experience the same success we're experiencing. Right? I already shared with you guys earlier, we're 97% of our expenses can be covered with passive income right now. If I shut it all down, got super lean, told my team members, okay, we're done. We're not trying to help 1,000, families convert to thinking like a bank. We're not trying to help 300 families become financially, become work option in the next 12 to 36 months. You could shut it down today and be fine based on what we've built. But what fun is that? And it, hold on. Who was that? Snoop Dogg and them? Ain't no fun if the homies can't have none. You know what I'm saying? Right? Like, no, we're trying to help more people. We're not worried about being successful. We're trying to be relevant. So I'm sharing this with you because a lot of us get caught into the, man, I'm making six figures. I made it. That's the trap. Let me break some math here down for you, family. Not knowing your value. Y'all six-figure earners out there. I'll be cracking myself up. My wife laughs at me all the time because I'll be laughing at myself half the time. And then she laugh at me because I'm laughing at myself. Hold on. Let me give y'all some crazy math here. If they pay you six figures, that means you're worth seven. Well, Perry, what do you mean? So those who, if you don't know, I'm a CFO for so several companies, a dental practice, home health care, funeral home, you know what I'm saying? Another medical practice, right? So I have to always crunch numbers. And one thing that we always talk about is ROI, return on investment. There's actually an ROI on your employees, right? If you're paying an employee, let's say you're paying that employee $5,000 a month, then you should be able to point to over $5,000 worth of value that that employee is creating. And that value could be in a product being produced or freeing up your time or something along those lines, right? But that's how a good CEO looks at their staff. If what I'm paying giving me a positive ROI. So if you're making six figures with your job or your corporation, here's some math here for you. You're probably worth seven. So let me share this quick Django story with you. I know my team has probably heard this 1,000 times. I tell it all the time because it's one of my favorite stories. The day I got laid off from my job, July of 2014, bad place. Later on that weekend, I'm with my wife, and not my, but she wasn't my wife at the time. You know what I'm saying? She was my friend. She was staying the night, so she was a close friend. And I woke up in the middle of the night, boom, just like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Like, she's like, "You all right?" I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "You need to talk." I was like, "Yeah." We had just finished watching the movie Django that night. You all remember the movie Django, right? Okay, cool. Big shout out to Django. Type Django in the chat if you've seen it. If you ain't watched Django, go watch it. Um, but what I said to her, I said, "Hey, babe, you might not know this, but when the slaves were emancipated, many of them couldn't fathom leaving the plantation, and many of them stayed, right? Some of them became sharecroppers, but a lot of them was like, okay, we're free, but now what? We don't know how to take care of ourselves. Like, what are we going to do?" They were so conditioned to believing that the plantation master was their security. Let that sink in for a second. Slaves being freed and not wanting to go be free because they have been conditioned to believe that they could not take care of themselves. Though they were doing everything on the plantation, they were doing they're doing all the gardening, they was doing all of the field work, they were building the homes, they were washing the clothes, they was cooking the food, they was doing the tailoring, like had all of the skills to go out and be self-sufficient, but was so conditioned to believe that, man, I don't know if we can do this without the provision of the plantation owner. I said, I have made, and that's what I told her. I said, I'm Django. And I know she looked at me like, oh, Lord, what's this dude about to talk about? Because we had just seen the movie. And she's like, okay. I said, when I lost my job, I am the slave who was recently freed from the plantation. I was kicked off the plantation. And instead of me taking my skill set or the proverbial 40 acres and a mule that slaves, you know what I'm saying, former slaves were supposed to receive, right? They're supposed to get 40 acres and a mule. Hey, here's your 40 acres, right? Do your own thing, right? That didn't happen, but let's say in theory it did. I told her, instead of me trying to find another plantation, I'm going to take my 40 acres and a mule, and instead of getting paid, 30% of 1%, that's what the other firm was paying me. That's what the bank was paying me. Let that sink in. I was doing all of this work, and at max, we get 30% of 1%. I said, instead of me getting 30% of 1%, I'm taking my 40 acres and we only go get 100%. And that's when I realized and made the decision that I would never go work for anybody else again. Because that's when I started to realize my value. I started to realize my value. They were paying me six figures because I was bringing in hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars of revenue. They were happy to pay me 30, 40 grand a month because that 30, 40 grand a month I was making was 30% of that 1%. So they was happy to pay that because they was keeping everything else. I said, hold on now. I can go out here and work less and make more. That is mindset shift, family, right? That was my unchained moment. I am not going to look for another plantation. I'm going to take my 40 acres of mule and the skill set that I have and go out here and create my own way. Ooh, here's some math here for you. You ain't got to believe Perry because if this your first time listening to me, you're like, man, this dude be talking crazy, right? Let me give you guys some math. What a six-figure employee is worth to the business. If someone earns 100,000, the company typically expects them to at least 3x to 10x return on that cost. Here's what that means. Salary is 100,000. Benefits, taxes, overhead plus 25%, total cost 125,000. If they're paying you 125,000, they're expecting a minimum output from you of 375 to a million. That's the only way your six-figure income makes sense. Let this sink in for a second. If you're making six figures, 100,000, that means technically you're worth, hold on, let's look at this math here. You're technically worth 400,000 to $1 million per year. Did that hit anybody? Like, did that gut check anybody that's been addicted to that paycheck? Oh, I can't go out. Like, I just got to stay here because they're paying me 100,000. If they're paying you 100,000, you're actually worth 400,000 to a million, which means you could take that skill set and go replace that income starting tomorrow. I'm just gonna stare at the screen. Somebody type ROI in the chat. Start understanding your worth. Start understanding your worth. You think you making 100,000, so you think you're worth 100,000. That's not CEO math. CEO math is I'm paying you 100,000 because you're bringing in 400 to $100,000 worth of revenue to the company. That's how we wrap our head around paying you that amount of money. What could you do with that same skill set on your own? It's a mindset shift. Mistake number 5, family. Not seeking expert counsel. not seeking expert counsel or guidance. So let's go back to this one story. I told you I'm being totally transparent with y'all. Like this is as butt naked as it gets, right? This is going to the doctor's office and be like, Doc, I don't know what's going on. And they be like, drop him. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I'm getting butt naked with you guys. Drip. I'm gonna get a sip. When I lost all of that real estate, was losing all that real estate back in 2007, 2009. I remember going to a friend, a fraternity brother who was a lawyer. Like, man, I don't know what to do. Now, they weren't a real estate lawyer. It's kind of like a general practitioner type dude. And they're like, oh man, just his staff, the staff that he introduced me to, oh, just file bankruptcy. I was like, where? They're like, yeah, just file bankruptcy, right? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? File bankruptcy and then just start over and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, oh, okay. The worst advice ever. I have a client now who last time we touched base, he had 80 properties. He was netting, and I'll make sure we understand the difference between netting and grossing. He was netting $35,000 a month from his real estate portfolio. He and I had the exact same amount of properties and value of portfolio in 2009. Well, what did he do different than Perry Jeffries? Well, I went to the friend, the homie, and got horrible advice because he didn't know how to create wealth. My client, he wasn't my client at the time, went to the attorneys who specialize in creating wealth, asset protection, and real estate. He stroked them a check for, 10,000 bucks. I was cheap and paid 1,000 bucks for this little raggedy bankruptcy that I didn't even go through with. He spent 10,000 bucks. We talked about this after the fact. What they did for him, they said, yep, the real estate market is crashing, da 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 da. We're going to create separate LLCs. We're going to put your bad properties in the name of this LLC over here. We're going to put the properties you want to keep in this LLC over here. On your bad properties, you're going to stop making the payments. Now, what I'm sharing with you guys is game. This is the backroom conversation that most of y'all are not privy to because one, you're not in the right community to hear it. Let me say that again. What I'm about to put you on is the real game that's happening in the back rooms. Somebody just recently asked me on a podcast. They said, "Hey Perry, somebody who's looking to get their finances in order, what would you tell them to start doing today?" And had you asked me that question, 3 years ago, it'd been like, "Oh, you need a financial plan and get with you a financial advisor and da 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 da." And I said that would have been my answer 3 years ago. Now that my eyes are open and we're moving out of this, I want to retire into this work optional space. I said my response with Dave was like, you need to get into a room with highly successful people and learn what you're doing, where it's not any gatekeeping. People are sharing these moves and these stories. So let me share this move with you. Going back to the client, he broke this down. One LLC held the properties that were bad, underperforming properties he wanted to let go. The other LLC moved the properties over there, and those were the ones you're going to keep. He was then advised by the attorneys to stop making payments on the properties that he did not want to keep in this LLC over here. Is he going to take a credit hit? Is this going to affect his credit? Yes. But those properties are now separated, right, into a different entity. Because the market was so crazy and foreclosures were taking anywhere between 6 to 18 months, he stopped making the payments, but was still collecting rent on that portfolio while still had his good portfolio on the other side. Then when it all, hold on, this is another play they said. These other attorneys was telling their clients, oh yeah, by the way, go and get your home, go get a HELOC on all the properties and draw down on that HELOC, grab the cash and let the properties pop. And you're like, well, hold on, Perry, that's kind of ruthless. And no, this is business. Hold on, I'm almost there. I'm gonna get to the point. So get the line of credit on the properties, let them foreclose. You got the cash. So when the dust settled and those properties finally were foreclosed on, he had collected rent, had access to lines of credit, and then went back and bought a lot of the same properties, pennies on the dollar with cash. Because he didn't care about the credit at that point in time. That's a different kind of business move. That's gangster. Y'all need to be in rooms where they talking about stuff like that. Because now you're getting the wealthy playbook. You know who are running these plays? Some of the largest developers in the country. While me, I'm around here stressing like crazy, like, oh my gosh, this ain't getting paid. I lost $400,000 on this deal. Dot, 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 dot. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh my gosh, right? So thank God I had a high powered CPA at the time. I went to my CPA and like, hey man, this attorney that I paid $1,000 to, you know what I'm saying, got me filing bankruptcy. He says, Perry, stop that immediately. I said, well, why? He says, you have a loss on this real estate to the tune of 400,000, right? Where I got scammed. I was like, yeah. He said, that's a real estate theft loss. I said, okay, what does that mean? He says that qualifies what's called a NOL, net operating loss. I said, okay, what does that mean? That 400,000 NOL goes on your tax return and reduces your taxable income dollar for dollar. I said, what? I said, so if I make 100,000 with the NOL, you're telling me that my income is negative 300,000? He's like, yeah. He said, if you file bankruptcy, you lose that opportunity to exercise the NOL. I said, well, hold on. I still got some other moves being made and whatnot. So how long can I use this NOL till it runs out? I went almost a decade making tax-free income. When me and my wife got together and started filing our taxes together, she's like, hold on, how are you making this kind of money and not paying any taxes? I was like, I still got some of my NOL left. I still got like, $150,000 in my NOL. She's like, what is an NOL? Well, this was the loss I took in real estate. My CPA broke it down to me and said, no, 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 don't file bankruptcy. You do this over here. So I would have much rather had the real estate portfolio for sure. But I still got economic relief because I worked and made my income tax free for almost a decade. You have to stop being cheap and pay for expert advice. Know the wealthy. If you don't know the play, pay to get in the room where they run the plays. Had I paid $10,000 like my client did back then, I would have a 80, you know what I'm saying, 80 unit portfolio myself and be netting $35,000, $40,000 a month. But I was cheap, didn't get expert advice. Thank God I had an expensive, smart CPA who broke this thing down for me and stopped me from having economic disaster. And then I find out that, hold on, who else is running these plays? Remember when all y'all was mad when the current president, some time ago, uh it wouldn't show his tax returns and it's like, man, what was the number like, man, he's a billionaire. How he only pay, $500 in taxes? Net operating losses. Yeah, y'all thought that play was only for billionaires. It's not. Wealthy folks know how to win when everybody else thinks they're losing. Let that one sink in. Knowing the wealthy playbook, that is the lesson, right? So let me give you guys a principle here. We're going to transition a little bit. Type playbook in the chat. I just want to make sure y'all still rocking with me. We're almost finished here because I'm going to open up for some Q&A here in a second. I was on a podcast here recently and I shared this story, and the brothers after the podcast was like, dude, I've never heard nobody break it down that way. It's one of my favorite analogies. So if you're a basketball head, you already know where I'm probably about to go. If you're not a basketball fan, just play along and just nod your head like you know what's happening. There's this ongoing debate about who's the GOAT. Is it Michael Jordan? Is it LeBron James? So just for the record, I am from Akron, Ohio. LeBron James is from Akron, Ohio. He's my GOAT, but we'll just leave it there. I don't get into these conversations with folks because I think it's a I don't want to say a dumb conversation, but people are arguing this based on emotion versus facts. right? So let me share a fact here with you. When people argue and say that I'm sorry, to say that Jordan is the GOAT, or Kobe is to go. Rest in peace, Kobe. Rest in peace, Gigi. Man, you know what I'm saying? You talk about something that tore me up. I became more of a Kobe fan after he passed away, looking at some of his videos and how he attacked life and work ethic and outworked everybody. And the fact that the brother passed away, going to take his daughter to play basketball, and I take my daughter to play basketball, broke my heart. I don't cry a lot when celebrities die, but I bawled that day. So, side note. Anyway, who's the GOAT? Well, a lot of people base the GOAT debate on who has the most championships, right? So, Jordan, has his, what, six championships. Kobe has, I don't know, what is it, four or so, or five, or whatever he got going on, right? And I always ask this question. I say, well, if you're basing the debate upon who has the most championships, let me ask you this question. When Jordan won his six championships, I think it's six, who was his coach? Well, his coach was Phil Jackson. And what offense did they run? The triangle offense. Question: did Jordan win any championships without Phil Jackson? No. Did he win any championships without the triangle offense? No. Let's move to Kobe. Kobe has some championships. Who was his coach when he won the championships? Phil Jackson. What offense did they run? Triangle offense. Similarities here. Same coach, same system. Huh. There's a point in time when Kobe didn't want to run the triangle offense anymore. He went to, the office, back office, front office with, the Lakers and said, "Hey, man, I'm gonna try to get Phil Jackson up out of here." So they let Phil Jackson go. The Lakers ended up having the worst record in the West. They brought Phil Jackson back. What happened when they brought Phil Jackson back? They won another championship. So here's the deal: to be great is you can't talent your way to greatness. Talent is only one piece of it. You have to have a coach, and you have to have a system. With a coach and a system, that's how you create greatness. Neither Kobe nor Jordan has ever won a championship without Phil Jackson running the triangle offense. This is not an emotional statement. This is just facts. So if these are the facts, if we lean into this, you create dynasties when you have a system, a coach, and talent. You're the talent, family. God gave you some talent. Matter of fact, hold on one second. I don't know if I'm going to pull it up. I was trying to pull it up earlier. One of our teammates, Megan, we were on a team call here recently, and she gave us a scripture. I think it was like Roman 12 or something along those lines. I'm going to totally butcher it, but the essence of the scripture, Megan, if you're here, just type it in the chat so people can go check it out. The essence of the scripture was, right, we've all been given talents. If your talent was to teach, teach. If your talent was to prophesy, go prophesy. If your talent was to lead, then lead. If your talent was to give, then give as much as you possibly can. So you guys are the talent. But let me ask you, who's your coach? Or if you're not winning, if you're stuck on depending on one paycheck, it's because you don't have a coach. An advisor, a traditional advisor, just telling you what to do with your 401k and your IRA and your mutual funds, that's not coaching. Coaching is developing the mindset so you can go out here and create wealth and financial freedom without depending on those things. That's that's coaching. And then what system are you running? Are you running the system that they gave us? The same system that has 59% of Americans don't have $1,000 in savings for an emergency? Are you running the same system where 80% of an older population are one disaster away from economic, turmoil? Are you running the same system? If that's the system you're talking about, where 25% of 50-year-olds believe they will never be able to retire? Or are you running the same system where the medium 401k balance for 50-year-olds are $252,000 a year, equating to $1,000 a month? That system was not built for you to win. It was built for you to be a cog in the system. You need to adopt a different system with a coach who's running that new system and you be the talent. That's how you break away from depending on a paycheck. Jeez. Woo, type system in the chat. Jeez, y'all got me stressed out today. Megan, thank you, Megan. That scripture is Romans 12:6-8. Type system in the chat. System. Yeah, system. Love it. All right, y'all. Okay. I remember I had an offer for you guys, so let's get to the offer. Before we get to the offer here, want to share a testimony here from one of our favorite clients, but also to one of my coaches. So it's hard to even say she's a client because we barter and share each other's services. She coached me and my wife to get us to the point that we purchased that $1.2 million in real estate over a little over a year. And then we did some things for her. She owns over 70 doors, is a real estate investor coach. And using one of our systems, she added $55,000 of income. Let's hear what she has to say.
My name is Jessie Lang, and I am here to give a shout out for Perry and the team over at Cashflow Unlocked. I am a real estate investor, and we own quite a few rental properties in Columbus, Ohio. So I have a good idea of kind of how financing and creative wealth strategies. I understand the value of buying real estate, but what I didn't really understand was a lot of the like creative stuff that the wealthy do to actually grow their wealth even more. And so working with Perry, he introduced me to a ton of different strategies, things that I have never even thought about, never considered. And probably the biggest one that he helped me implement will net us about $50,000 this year. In addition to regular income. So he helped me get set up with a securities backed line of credit where we have a brokerage account, we have a line of credit against that brokerage account. I take that money in that line of credit and I go out and I lend it to other real estate investors. So I'm taking some money I already had, I'm leveraging it, and then I'm going to lend to other people who are in an industry that I really understand. So it's a very safe strategy, and we'll make about, like I said, 50K this year alone, and we're still growing it. So highly recommend Perry and the team if you are trying to figure out how to take what you have and make it even better.
Man, big shout out to Jessie. Make sure you follow her on Facebook. Her group is called Unlocked. Jesse, another coach, Lena, are doing a goal setting event at the beginning of the year where it's going to be absolutely fire. But again, this is us taking somebody who's good at what they do, giving them some new tools and strategies, and creating some greatness. So big shout out to Coach Jesse over there. Here's one of my favorite stories right here. Carrying Adam. Carrying Adam came to me Um, it's actually through Jesse. You know what I'm saying? I was on one of Jesse's trainings, and Carrie heard me talk and then kind of consumed all of my content, reached out to me and said, "Hey, I've already consumed all things Perry. We want to work with you. What does it look like?" Her and Adam invested in the VIP day with me. It was $4,500. We sat down for 8 hours, and I remember walking to that VIP meeting and saying, "Hey, I'll have you retired in 12 months." And they looked at me sideways like, who is this brother coming in talking this strong? I remember them getting on a call inside our mastermind, and they're like, "Hey, Perry, it wasn't 12 months, it was 16 months. We're sitting out here living our best life. We're work optional, and it's everything." So we were able to get them out and retire from his job, W-2 job, and became work optional. Phenomenal story. Phenomenal story. Next one I have here for you, a good friend of mine is Dathan, one of the sharpest cats in the wealth advisory industry. Yes, I coach other advisors. Huh. Let that sink in for a second. He's a Harvard graduate, and we used a strategy that added $2,400 to his cash flow. Let's hear from Dathan.
Hi, my name is Dathan Lumpkins. I'm the president of Lumpkins Private Wealth Management, and I'd like to share a little bit about my experience with Perry Jeffries, ECFO, in the past program. Um, a little bit about myself: 15 years in the industry with a couple institutional players, had built a practice of over 120 million, decided to go independent 18 months ago. During that transition, my only focus was building top line revenue. And my blind spot was in the area of optimizing my cash flow. So initial conversations with Perry involved just that, putting some financial systems in place, optimize cash flow, really understanding my expenses. He took a look at my balance sheet, identified some specific areas where I could reduce some costs to the tune of about $2,000 a month. That's 2,000. That's 24,000 a year that I can reinvest back into my business. Um, he also helped me position myself for organic growth. So there were numerous systems that I could put in place, and those systems have allowed me to add staff more effectively. There are areas of my business that are now on autopilot that I no longer have to try to memorize on my own. It also allows me to uh, position myself to build a business that can run without me. So, for all you entrepreneurs, particularly those in finance, um, if you're looking for a catalyst to take your practice to the next level, it would be a prudent approach to have Perry Jeffries, ECFO, as well as a past program on your team. I think that would be a prudent approach to taking your business to the next level. Thanks.
Y'all, this is somebody who's managed $120 million, have his own wealth management firm, is a Harvard grad, one of the sharpest individuals I know. I'm proud to be able to call him a friend. Understand, we all have blind spots. Even the wealth manager managing $120 million. We found this $200,000, this $2,000 gap in 15 minutes and added $24,000 to his cash flow. All right, y'all. For the past hour, man, I pray and hope I've given you some gems. Again, I told you at the beginning, this is not going to be what you thought it was going to be. It never is when people come into our cipher, come into our circle. I'm not a traditional advisor. I am someone who came in as a traditional advisor, evolved into a financial strategist because I found I could better serve my community and my clients by coaching them and teaching them the things that became true to me is that I no longer had to wait till 65 to retire. I could be work optional as soon as possible, right? By just starting to think like the bank and looking at things differently, right? So hopefully you will agree that this has been time well spent so far. If it's been time well spent, just type 10 in the chat. Unfortunately, I can't cover everything that you need in just a 1 hour webinar, but I told you guys I do have actually two offers for you. So I'm going to offer an opportunity for some individuals to come into our private circle, come into our Millionaire Mastermind Mentorship Program, and also too, we're going to do some Q&A. So you guys can type your questions in the chat. Type your questions. I think all of you guys should have like a question area to type your questions in. I'm going to answer as many of those questions as possible. And for those who complete the marathon, we got your free gift for you at the end. So let's talk about this millionaire mastermind. And again, I'm not trying to hard sell you on this because literally I wasn't going to offer it. One of my coaches said, no, you need to offer it, right? So I'm coachable. I have several coaches. I invest in coaching. So when they say do a thing, I do it. So what's our millionaire mastermind? What do you get? You're going to build a system that runs your money. You're no longer going to have to think about where stuff needs to go. You're going to run your money like the bank and have a blueprint around that. We install our wealthy framework system. You're going to become your own bank and fund your own deals. And that $1.2 million of real estate that me and my wife have acquired here, we've yet to use any of our own money. We're going to teach you to do that. Jessie, who added $50,000 of income, has yet to use her own money. She's using a strategy we taught her. The goal is to help you replace your paycheck with passive income. Design your work optional plan for true freedom. You've heard me mention work optional. The word retirement is a bad word in our office. We only want to talk about being work optional, not retirement. And again, we've been so conditioned to believe that retirement has been the goal that you need coaching and the community to get your head wrapped around that your new reality can be work optionality, which is not based upon a year. Work optionality is just a point in time that you have enough passive income covering your monthly necessities. We'll teach you how to turn income into investments that pay you back. Something right here, one of my clients, we have some, like I told you, we met some clients today. They have phenomenal income. I think their combined income is $400,000 or so, but they need accountability. And they told me that out the gate, just like, man, Perry, we're investing in a program because we need accountability. We made good money. The wife is a former financial advisor, attorney, right? They're like, we need accountability and coaching and mentorship. Working with them today, we found a play that's literally going to add $4,000 a month to their cash flow. And we're not even talking about investing in crypto or stocks. Like we didn't even got to the investing part yet. We just moved some things around and looked at it differently, and boom, there it was. So accountability with coaching and mentorship. Join a wealth-minded community for life. Inside our program, we give lifetime access to our mastermind. Simplify your finances with done with you systems and experiences those three C's that I was talking about: the coaching, consulting, and experience. Right? There's a lot more that goes into this. And again, this was not intent to be like a sales call, but I'm just making an offer to who may be a good fit for. Who's a good fit for? Here it is right here. It's a good fit for anyone who makes six figures in income. It's a good fit for someone who has six figures in combined savings and investments, and an excellent fit for entrepreneurs and real estate investors. This program is not for everybody. Keep it 1000% with you. I'm always going to be transparent and just keep it 100, right? It's not for everybody. But if you're in one of those three categories, we should have a conversation because we could probably take you to the next level. If you're not in one of these three categories, don't sweat it. You know what I'm saying? We have our boot camps coming up here soon. Make sure you take advantage of those, and we have a bunch of other resources for you as well. Oh, and make sure you stay tapped in because in 2026, we're launching another program. Kind of, you know what I'm saying? That's a lower ticket model. So here's the deal. When I was putting this together, I had two choices. First option, not share this opportunity with you and wish you the best, because again, we weren't doing this to sell you something. We was doing this the same reason I did videos and created a podcast during the pandemic. I have a heart to serve and to teach. That's who I am. For the longest, my mom, as a kid, thought I was going to be a pastor. I cussed too much to be a pastor. So that wasn't going to happen. But this is how I can teach and I can serve because I understand numbers and I just see things very differently than the majority of folks. So I can literally look at somebody's finances. They see one thing, but like with Carrie and Adam, I saw I'll have you work optional in 12 months, right? And where they couldn't understand, they couldn't see where they were even going to be to retire at age 60, 65. Okay. So first option was not share this opportunity with you. Wish you the best. Second option, open the doors, which we normally don't open the doors for this until we do a boot camp, but no, open the doors to talk to those individuals who may be ready to move forward. So if that's you, we got some things here for you. Before we get there, I want to share this quick video from one of our favorite clients. She's been with me almost, shoot, if I've been in the industry 22 years, she's been with me probably 18 of them, right? She first became a client of mine when she retired from the WNBA. She's coached three Division I teams. I think Boston College, she was the first Black female coach in the ACC. She coached at OU, did some assistant coaching down in North Carolina. She's an Olympian, Hall of Famer in Ohio, inducted the Basketball Hall of Fame, where she actually stayed with us when she got inducted with her and her husband. What's up, B? And also to a national champion. She's going to share her quick story how we taught her how to use her own private bank, the infinite banking concept. We call it the Rockefeller Fund to purchase her car. So check out Coach.
I got a 2018 Nissan Murano. It glides. It rides nice. And I got a 4-year warranty on it. Easy to maintain, easy on the gas. Yeah, I feel good about it. I feel even better that I ran the play. I am the bank. I am the bank. Now I feel financially free. Not just because I got a car, but I understand what wealth is. I understand um I understand why I deserve to be a millionaire. Because it's God's will for my life. He said that I'm the lender, not the borrower, the head, and not the tail. Many nations will call me blessed. Yeah, I feel free because I understand where assets are, what liabilities are. I understand debt, good debt, bad debt, all those things. I get it. I get it now. And if you understand those things, then you can set yourself free financially. And you are not just aimlessly beating at the air, like you live life with purpose, you invest with purpose, you save with purpose. You got multiple buckets, you're working towards your net worth. And yeah, it's just a beautiful thing. Beautiful thing. You don't have to wait till you're 65 to retire. You live well now and live your best life. So yes, it's what I call winning. It's just that moment, like pursuit of happiness. Will Smith like finally knew what it meant to be happy. And he was clapping in the air. That's how I feel right now, honestly. Tough.
Woo! That's why we do what we do, baby. Right? Couple more testimonials here. Big shout out to Lizzie. You know what I'm saying? She said, Emily, her wife, and I completed the boot camp in September. Truly opened our eyes to the power of the dollar. Learning how to make your money work for you as opposed to you working for it was empowering. Even more so, learning how to make every dollar do its job two, even three times insanity. We changed so much of our finance after boot camp, and truly the trajectory of our family has changed forever. This will be your best investment in 2025 and is less the cost of Friday dinner. So they're talking about our boot camp right here, right? Daniel Hunter, you know, so big shout out to Dan. We go back way back. He said, my day one aha moment realization was after rereading our numbers, we actually have 7 months of our necessities already covered. Mind blown. Because sometimes you just got to look at your numbers differently. I'm also reminded that mindset is so crucial in the money game. Heck, mindset is the key to so many, if not all areas of your life. Let's go. Again, this was not going to be a webinar about, oh man, you know what I'm saying? Like you need to get in Bitcoin. No, this is bigger than Bitcoin. You're bigger than Bitcoin. So here's our guarantee. And we're going to get past this and get to the Q&A, but I have to do it. With our guarantee, create cash flow that replaces your paycheck. Our guarantee is to add a minimum of $500 a month of positive cash flow in your first 90 days. If not, we'll keep working with you. And we have seen folks add up to 5,000 in new monthly income. That's just rearranging some things. This wasn't, oh, we invested in this and right, oh, we invested this dividend stock in it. No, this was just taking what they already had, restructuring it, and bow. Okay. And our other guarantee is design a 12 to 36 month work optional plan, replace your job dependence, replace, you know what I'm saying, break that addiction to the paycheck and create your own paycheck, right? So replace that job dependence with freedom, flexibility, and purpose. All right, screenshot this, go to this link. If you're interested in joining our inner circle, joining our mastermind, go to cashflowunlock.com/mastermind, book a call ASAP. We'll have a conversation with you. You'll probably speak to one of our team members, Coach G, Coach George. He'll break some things down for you, answer some of your questions. If it's a good fit, cool. If it's not a good fit, we ain't tripping, right? We're here to help those individuals who are ready to actually change their lives and really break that addiction to that paycheck. All right, here we go, y'all. Live Q&A. So what I'm gonna do now is hand it over to my team because I'm not super familiar with this platform. But do we have some questions? All of y'all should have questions in there. I got one question now, so I'm gonna jump into it. How can I access capital, grants, life insurance, license, and duo processing? Right. I'm not super clear on that question, but I'll answer it this way. Anybody, you all should have like this whole Q&A thing, so don't type it in the chat because we may miss it. Go to the Q&A tab if you're here on the live Zoom. So go to the Q's and click answer live, and we'll go from there. Well, I'm going to hit answer live, right? So, question, how can I get access to capital? So, what we teach inside our mastermind, we actually know we teach it inside our boot camp, but we actually do it and help people actually do it inside our mastermind, is seeing what assets you currently have. We don't, quite frankly, we don't go after grants because we're begging for money. We don't believe in begging for money. We believe in empowering our people to like use this, use what they have to get access to the paper. So we use a concept called 4D banking, where we look at your savings, we look at your investments, we set up infinite banking, where you can actually be your own banker bank the same way that the Rockefellers did. We'll look at your retirement accounts. We look at the equity in your home. And then from there, we'll go ahead and then identify where we get access to capital. But we ain't going begging for money. What we're doing is taking what we already have and then going in and making it happen from there. So that's how we handle that piece. Would you like to answer this question live? Let me answer another one live. Okay. Andrea, you would like to answer this question? Nope. Boom, boom. Okay, cool. Roxy had a question in here. Andrea, guess it just said, "Hey Perry, I didn't see a question in there, so just go in and type that again." Okay. Roxy had a question here. Can you share more about the net loss, about taxes, or recommend a good CPA? So that was called a net operating loss. That's NOL. Um, Unfortunately, I got a couple of accountants. They're kind of booked out. What you want to do, Roxy, is just email us, email our team. We can shoot somebody over to you. But net operating loss is a real estate loss on paper, which can carry forward and save you some money. Okay, so that's that there. But just hit us up. You know what I'm saying? We'll get you pointed in the right direction. All right, Andrea. Oh gosh. So I have stage 4 cancer and some Social Security funds. Bless you. You know what I'm saying? Praying for a cure on that. How do I invest without taking equity from my home? We would need more details because again, we're not a traditional financial planner. We look at everything from a very holistic standpoint, but not just from a holistic standpoint, Andrew. How we look at things is we look at things not from a personal finance perspective, or from a business finance perspective. So when we're working with people, we're literally taking their personal financial picture, rearranging things, and looking at it as if we were the CEO and CFO of a bank. So I really don't know how. I really don't have an answer to that, unfortunately. But I would definitely, in this case right here, if you're kind of falling to that group of folks that would be a good fit for the mastermind, definitely jump into the mastermind. I'm sorry, definitely get on an alignment call with Coach G, see if it's a good fit. If you don't qualify for that, definitely jump into our community on Facebook, right? And definitely jump into one of our upcoming boot camps. I hope that helps you out. Just I don't have enough data to be able to answer that because again, we don't give just blanket investments. Sorry, we don't give just blanket recommendations. We look at total picture, move things around, and structure people's finances from a corporate standpoint. And then from there, we can answer all of those questions. I just don't have the data to be able to answer that and give you a good answer. But I'm keeping you up in prayers. Okay, let's see here. We got a guest here. I'm gonna Bale Joan. There's probably two names in there, but I don't know. Hope I didn't mispronounce that too bad. Is an IUL the IUL foundational to strategy mentioned? Is it something like bank on yourself? Um, IUL is the Index Universal Life Policy. Can it be used as a banking feature? Yes. I won't say it's foundational though. Um, you saw the testimonial with Jesse. She doesn't have an IUL, and she got a couple $100,000 on her security based line of credit that she's now lending out and making money in the margins the same way the banks do. So I won't say it's foundational. Could it be a piece? Absolutely, could be a piece, but I wouldn't say foundational. Anonymous attendee, looking at worst case scenarios, walk us through what that looks like for you. Ooh, really good question. Thank you for that. So, worst case scenario. Worst case scenario is I go blind. I can't talk. Right? I know that sounds really extreme, but stay with me here. When I remember I hired a consultant a while back and I said, I need to build something that is not dependent upon me talking because I get paid to talk. And if I can't talk, I can't teach and I can't get paid. So I need to build. So that's me planning for worst case scenario. So if my gift is teaching and coaching and something happens that I lose my sight, I lose my voice and I can't do that, do I have a contingency plan in place to be able to keep the party going and continue to make money, right? That's why we're in the process of hiring coaches. That's why we record content that can live forever. This video right here, it's going to be evergreen, right? We're going to take this webinar and it's going to live forever. And there may be somebody a month from now, a year from now, watch this video on YouTube and, schedule a call to meet one of our coaches. And, I won't be the coach coaching, right? So my worst case scenario is if I'm the primary breadwinner and I'm unable to perform the tasks that generate the bread, that cook the bread, then I want to make sure that my message lives on. So to do that, I have to use leverage. I have to make sure my kids know to play. That's real generational wealth. I know you didn't ask that question, but I'm gonna go there anyway. My kids need to know to play, right? My wife needs to know to play. I need to hire coaches who know to play. So even worst case scenario, Perry is off the grid. We keep the party going. So that's my answer there. Great question. Thank you for that. You mentioned 401k. With me having one and my husband also, when we do the boot camp, is it best to do away with the 401k and learn where to put it and have our money grow? So the answer is depends. So here's the deal. I'm not anti 401k. I'm anti wait until 65 to use the money. Right? Because here's the deal. If you have a 401k at your job and you're contributing money to it and your employer is contributing money to it, like why wouldn't I want you to take advantage of that? That's effectively free money. Like you put in 1,000 and your employer puts in 1,000, that's $2,000 and you ain't even made a good investment yet, right? So I'm not anti 401k. What I am is waiting to 65 to use the money. I am anti waiting to 65. I am anti being all pre-tax and having so much money in our 401k that now we have written the IRS a blank check for our retirement. Because here's the deal, if all your money is pre-tax in your 401k and you wait till 65 to take the money out, you're paying taxes at an ordinary income tax rate. None of us know what the taxes are going to be in the future, but I guarantee you 100% of the people on here believe taxes are going to be up. So if you're just leaving the money in there and you've locked your money up, you have effectively joined into a partnership with the IRS to give them whatever they want based on what they say they want at that point in time. I'm anti against that. But I got clients right now where we use their 401k and they're nowhere close to being 59 and a half. Like one client, I think they're 47. And we used an IRS code to start paying them income today. So again, it's just looking at it very differently. So I'm not anti 401k. I'm just anti waiting to 65 to use it. I'm anti paying crazy amounts in taxes, right? But I'm not gonna say do away with it. But again, it's different for everybody. All right, good question though. All right, let's see here. Can you share the cost of the mastermind or share it in a group meeting, individually based family? Yeah, yeah, yeah. So here's the deal. You know what I'm saying? I'm pretty transparent. The investment, first lesson here. The mastermind doesn't cost. It's an investment. It's an investment in yourself, right? So I liken it to this. Many of us on here on this piece are probably went to college, right? So went to college. So that means a lot of us have, you know what I'm saying? And I've seen these student loans, 100,000 in student loans, 50,000 in student loans. If you wasn't on full scholarship like me, right, could be crazy expensive. The cost of the mastermind is probably 1/10 of what many of us are paying to go to college just to go out and get a job versus actually knowing how to create financial freedom, right? So it's going to vary. We have different payment plans and things of that nature. But if you're interested, definitely get on that call with Coach G. He'll walk you through all the details on that. All right. Question here. If someone has 100K in liquid cash right now, in today's environment, what would you recommend investing in, business, real estate, or gold? Well, I wouldn't recommend any of those, right? Because if you don't know what to invest in, that means that you're not a smart investor yet. And that's no disrespect in any way, shape, or form, Antonio. You know what I'm saying? Kind of hear me through this. Smart investors already know where to invest the money because they've already kind of looked at their numbers on paper and they're investing for a purpose. That purpose, we use what we call our M3 framework. That M3 framework is simply this. It is, does this increase my cash flow or passive income? Does this decrease my expenses? And does this decrease my taxes? So the question would be, of those three, which one does what, right? And if we don't know which one does what, that means that we need to invest in more coaching so we know what to do with the money when we have it, right? So again, that's where when somebody asked me on this recent podcast, and they're like, "Yo, P, where would you tell somebody to start their investment journey, their financial journey?" You need to get in rooms where people discuss this already, because if you're asking that question, that tells me that we don't know what to do with it. If we don't know what to do with it, it's because we're not in the right rooms where they're talking about what to do with it. Because the goal is, like with our mastermind, the goal is to get somebody to the point that they already know what to invest in. They already know what to invest in because the data already told them what to do. And also, too, we're very high on investor DNA. What I invest in ain't what you need to invest in, right? Everybody ain't built to be a landlord. So I ain't gonna tell you to be a landlord. I'm gonna tell you, hey, what does your investor DNA say? Maybe your investor DNA is like Jesse, and your investor DNA is lending money out. Maybe your investor DNA is like, man, I want some totally passive. So maybe your play is dividend stocks. So right now, I have no idea where to tell you to put the 100,000 other into more coaching and development, so you don't have to ask the question about where to put the 100,000. Okay, great question. I love that one, bro. Got an anonymous person here, anonymous attendee. Can the same strategy, maximize my money, be used for a 403b account, just like you mentioned with the 401k? So here's the deal: 401ks, 401(b)s, 457s, 414s, all different, what I'm saying, all employer sponsored plans. All employer sponsored plans kind of have some general rules, but all of them are based upon the company as well. So all of them have these general rules that's pretty consistent across the board, but you actually need to talk to someone on your HR side and just see like, hey, is this something that I can do? Things of that nature, right? So the answer to that question, unfortunately, is it kind of depends. I need more detail on that one. All right, let's see here. Done, 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 done. Oh, okay. I got some new hotness. Oh, I hope I didn't miss somebody. All right. Um, got a kid here. You mentioned 401k with me having one and my husband also. When do Oh no, we already answered that one. Okay, cool. Can you share the cost of the mastermind? Covered that. If someone has 100k, covered that. Okay, cool. Hey team, I think I covered all the questions. Okay, sweet. All right. One more second for questions, then I'll go into the gift for the 33 people that made it. All right. Told you guys had a gift because again, this was not intended to be a sales call, but definitely if you fall into that group of six-figure earners, six figures in investment savings, your own real estate, you're an entrepreneur, get on our calendar. Let's have a conversation, see if we can help you out. All right, let me get here to your gift. For the folks who made it through, you made it to the end, family. Congratulations. Y'all rocked with me. We are giving you access to the state of our art financial planning software, right? Typically, we withhold this for people who are our private clients or people who come through our bootcamp VIP. We're giving you access to this, no cost whatsoever. This is the software that we use and help our clients make data driven decisions. You set this up, this is going to help you track your net worth. It's going to help you track how much wealth you have. It's going to give you guidance around what your savings rate is. It's going to let you know what your tax rate is. It's literally going to give you the score to the game so that you can make data driven decisions. So, if you're on this bad boy, type elements in the chat, right? And then somebody on our team will get you the link. I know my team probably wasn't even aware that I was doing this because I decided to do this earlier. Understand something, y'all. Like the value in this is exponential, not just because you know the numbers, but it's exponential because a lot of times we can get emotional about our money. And one of our clients, so we got all kind of testimonials about this. Folks can get emotional about their money, and I say, go look at your Elements app, and they be like, "Yo, I felt broke, but I see that I have 15 years of wealth." Like this app has helped me help clients and coach the clients on decisions like leaving their job so they can go be with their husband who's dealing with cancer. It has helped people make decisions like, yep, I can leave my job now because the numbers say that I can. So the peace of mind that the app gives you is like, you can't even put a dollar value on that. I look at mine and it gives me peace of mind. Shoot, when my bank account get low and I'm like, Jesus, my bank account is low, and I start to feel that anxiety, right? That fear that, you know what I'm saying, coming on. I can go look at my app and be like, dude, you're tripping. You got money here, 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 here. Yeah, it's not in the bank account, but it's all in these places right here that you have access to, right? So type elements in there. Megan, what we want to do is just send them the link just to get it set up, right? Actually, these people who are still here, just go ahead if we can, if you have access to that link, if Megan, you're still with us here, if you can just drop that into the chat with these people who are here because they made it to the end, that way they can have it. I don't have it handy on me. If you're in a position to drop it in there, drop it in there. That'd probably be easier than us trying to email it out to people. So if you have that app, oh, directing me, we will have to email it. Okay, cool. All right, so we got everybody who's on here. We will get that email to you, host and the panelists. Ooh, hold on. Everyone, if you can send it to me, I'll drop it in here. Or we can just email it if that's easier. I'm gonna go over what she tell me to do because she's running all the back end. Do, 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 do. Make sure if you're posting in the chat that you're posting to everyone. All right, cool. All right, we're gonna get this stuff out here to you guys. It's been amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you for rocking with me. Um, Again, we want to just give you something to help navigate these times, put you in a better head place, and give you the things that nobody else is talking about. This mindset piece and navigating these five dangers. These are the five dangers. When you get your head wrapped around not making those five dangerous mistakes, I guarantee you this, you're going to start opening up the floodgates to become financially free and stop the addiction and the dependency on on that paycheck. All right, family, it's been real. Webinar chat. All right, cool. We're up out of here. All right, y'all. Peace.